What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports back to you guys with another video. In this video, I'm here with the Seattle Seahawks 2019 wide receiver preview. Going to be going through all of the wide receivers currently on the Seattle Seahawks roster. Now, before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Little NFL videos, NFL content daily. And also, I live stream, have a live call-in show every Sunday afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern Time when people call in and we just talk about the NFL and things like that. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're a fan of that stuff. And also, if you guys have another team that you guys want me to do, make sure to comment that team down in the comment section down below. So Seattle Seahawks wide receiver position. The reason why I really want to do this video is because they have a lot of young wide receivers that I'm really excited to see. Not named DK Metcalf. I know a lot of people are excited about DK Metcalf, but they have a lot of guys at that wide receiver position that I'm very interested in watching how they progress through the preseason, through training camp, and into the regular season. So they have a lot of guys that I am excited about. So the first guy that we have on this list is DK Metcalf. They took him in the second round of this year's NFL draft. And from what I've been reading so far in minicamp and OTAs, he has impressed. And basically, DK Metcalf, this guy is going to be a freak. And I think DK Metcalf could be what 2014 Josh Gordon was. And if he's able to do that, this dude is going to have a long NFL career, boy. He's going to be going straight to Canton if he's able to be what Josh Gordon was in 2014 throughout his whole entire career. Because think about how dominant Josh Gordon was in 2014. Now imagine if DK Metcalf could find a way to replicate that same dominance of Josh Gordon that season throughout his whole entire career. Boy, that would terrify the NFL. And DK Metcalf is a freak of nature. We already know how big he is. We already know about the something percent body fat. This guy is a freak. But I do think it's going to take him a while to get adjusted into the NFL game because most rookie wide receivers, it takes them a couple of weeks to start getting going in the NFL. We've seen guys like Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore kind of took them a little bit to get going into the NFL, get them going into the flow of things. So I think DK Metcalf is going to take him a couple of weeks to get adjusted to the NFL game. But I'm saying about week 8 is when we see DK Metcalf going beast mode and terrorizing defensive coordinators and defensive backs all around the NFL. So DK Metcalf, I think he most definitely will be in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I think he could be one of the first rookie wide receivers in a long, long time to actually win Offensive Rookie of the Year this season. I think he's that good. And I think he's going to end up having a very good NFL career. And I know it might be a little bit too early to say that because we haven't seen this guy play a full game in pads at the NFL level. But I think this guy is going to have a really, really good NFL career. Next up, we have AMARA DARBOH. He was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks a few seasons back, but never really did much, but contributed on special teams due to injuries. He was released by the Seattle Seahawks in September of 2018 and signed by the New England Patriots, but later was released because of a failed physical, and the Seattle Seahawks, I guess they ended up picking him back up. And of course, he didn't play last season because he was on injured reserve, so he has a history with injuries, isn't really able to stay healthy that much. So the Seattle Seahawks are expecting a lot out of him this season, trying to see really how good this guy is because he's been so banged up over the past couple of years. And I'm excited about him too. He has good size as well. So I'm eager to see what he can do. So I'm going to be monitoring him throughout the offseason, going into preseason, and see what he does for the Seattle Seahawks offense. Next up, we have Caleb Scott. Now, he was an undrafted free agent by the Seattle Seahawks in 2018 out of the University of Vanderbilt. He was on their practice squad all last season. He has good size. He's 6'2", 203 pounds, and he also has good speed. He ran a 4.440 at his pro day a few years back. So he's another guy that I'm really excited about. And this guy, the Seattle Seahawks, I really like what they did with this wide receiver position. They have a lot of young guys who have very good size, and DK Metcalf, he has good size. Caleb Scott has good size, and I think this guy could actually end up having an impact on the Seattle Seahawks team if he's able to make the roster. He has solid, reliable hands as well. So I'm going to be monitoring him throughout the Seattle Seahawks training camp and into the preseason, I couldn't really find a lot of information about him. But just looking at him and looking at his measurables and going back and looking at a couple of his highlights back at Vanderbilt, this guy has a lot of potential for the Seattle Seahawks, and I think he could most definitely make an impact for the Seattle Seahawks offense if he's able to make the 53-man roster, which I do believe that he will. Next up, we have David Moore. David Moore in 2018 had 445 receiving yards, 26 receptions, and 5 touchdowns. I think he could be in for another productive season, pretty much putting up similar numbers. I think this season he probably could have 500 receiving yards. I think he gets a little bit more receptions. He'll probably have 30 and between 30 or 40 receptions. I don't think he'll have 5 touchdowns. I think he'll probably have 3 or 4 touchdowns, but I think he could be a pretty productive player for the Seattle Seahawks in 2019 because he was pretty solid in 2018. So I'm going to be interested in seeing how good he's going to be in 2019, but I still think he should be pretty solid. Next up, we have Gary Jennings. Now, this is the guy who I'm really excited about because this guy, I told everybody when I was doing my top 10 wide receiver prospects for the 2019 draft, a lot of people got mad at me because I said Gary Jennings was better than David Stills. And I said, all right, now watch Gary Jennings getting drafted before David Stills. And Gary Jennings ended up getting drafted in the 4th round, and David Stills went undrafted. And I told everybody, just because this guy doesn't really have the explosive yards after catch plays, this guy is very good. He's faster than what a lot of people think. He's a lot faster on the field than what he looks like running the 40. On the field, he looks like he runs really fast when he's in pass and real game action. He also has very solid hands, and he has a very good frame. So Gary Jennings is a guy who I think is going to be another guy like DK Metcalf who's going to be able to have a very impactful rookie year. And I think Gary Jennings, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this guy get a lot of snaps by the time the regular season comes. And I'm not expecting him to break out like early on in the season. I'm going to say the same thing about him that I said about DK Metcalf. The last couple of seasons, rookie wide receivers, they don't normally just come out week 1 and start coming out the gates, Barnes blazing and torching NFL defense. It normally takes them a couple of weeks. And then around week 9, week 8 is when they start going off. I think Gary Jennings, we're going to start seeing a lot more of him in the Seattle Seahawks offense later on down the 2019 NFL season. Probably around week 10 is when we'll probably start seeing a little bit more of Gary Jennings. But I think he's going to have another solid rookie season as well. I don't think his rookie season is going to be as good as I think DK Metcalf's rookie season will be. But I think he's going to make a few plays his rookie season as well. And I'm really high on him. I think he's going to have another solid NFL career as well because he was very solid at the University of West Virginia when he was able to stay healthy. Next up, we have Jaron Brown. In 2018, he had 166 receiving yards, 14 receptions, and 5 touchdowns. So he was another key role guy for the Seattle Seahawks last season. I think he's going to step up a little bit more, and I think this season he pretty much increases his production from 2018. Think he probably in 2019 has 400 receiving yards, probably has 30 receptions, and I'll say he'll probably have 3 or 4 touchdowns as well. Next up, we have Jazz Ferguson. Now, this guy is an undrafted free agent out of Northwestern State, and he could potentially be DK Metcalf's brother. He might be a DK Metcalf clone or something. It's like somebody might have extracted DK Metcalf's DNA and put it in this guy's DNA because this guy is just as much of athletic freak as DK Metcalf. He's 6'5" and 227 pounds with good speed as well. This guy is a freak of nature, just like DK Metcalf. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this guy does in the preseason because I couldn't really find a lot of articles about him and what he did at minicamp and OTA. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this guy does in training camp and the preseason because this guy is an absolute freak. He's 6'5", 227 pounds with good speed. So I don't know where Seattle are finding these guys from. These guys are athletic freaks, man. This guy is a monster. If you guys have not seen this guy's film, go look up Jazz Ferguson highlights, and I promise you that you will not regret it because this guy is a monster. And I'm literally, this guy is a monster. Next up, they have John URSUA. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He was drafted in the 7th round of this year's draft out of Hawaii. He has good speed and explosiveness and a good release off the line, but his hands aren't really reliable and they're not what you want out of a slot receiver. Normally, you want your slot receiver to probably have the best hands on the team, because the slot receiver is kind of like that safety blanket at the wide receiver position on 3rd downs. And John, this guy dropped a lot of passes last season for the University of Hawaii, and he's also undersized as well. He's like 5'9", and doesn't really have a lot of special teams potential because he didn't really do anything on special teams for Hawaii as well. So he's basically a one-trick pony. That's something that you don't want. You always want to have at least be able to contribute on special teams to give yourself a good chance of making the roster. So John, if this guy ends up making the Seattle Seahawks roster, he will probably be going on the practice squad and then probably getting a little bit more development and working on those hands. Next up, we have Keenan Reynolds. Now, if you guys don't remember who this guy is, he was the former quarterback for Navy a few years ago. And this guy was on the Seattle Seahawks practice squad last season. He ended up getting moved up later on in the season. And I saw him appear in 2 games. Doesn't have any stats, but he played in 2 games. And I hope that he's able to make this Seattle Seahawks roster this season, because he was one of my favorite college football players when he was playing. And I think he's developed. He's came a long way the last couple of seasons. So I think Keenan Reynolds should be able to make the team and able to contribute on special teams. Next up, we have Malik Turner. Malik Turner didn't really have a lot, couldn't really find a lot of information on him. 2018, he had 20 receptions for 2 well, actually 2 receptions for 20 receiving yards. So didn't really see a lot out of him and couldn't really find a lot of information out of him. But I think he could end up being a pretty good role player if he's able to make the Seattle Seahawks roster. And maybe he can contribute on special teams. I don't know. I couldn't really find a lot of information about him. Next up, we have Terry Wright. Now, Terry Wright was an undrafted free agent out of the University of Purdue, has good speed, and was a very good D threat in college. I think he has special teams potential for the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe he could be converted with a little bit of development to a slot wide receiver, but ultimately, if he makes the roster, he probably will be on special teams or might be on their practice squad as well. So next up, we have Tyler Lockett. A lot of high expectations for Tyler Lockett. This is a guy who has improved the last couple of seasons and has really came a long way. 2018 was probably one of his best seasons. 965 receiving yards, 57 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. I'm looking forward to big things for Tyler Lockett in 2019. Think he makes the Pro Bowl. Think he has over 1,000 receiving yards as well. He'll probably have about 70 receptions, and I say he probably has about 10 touchdowns as well. So this is it for my Seattle Seahawks 2019 wide receiver preview. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Also, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.